What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Codex Station Comic Character of the Week. I am your host tonight, Salad Slime Guy. Joining me tonight is the mighty Mike Harbor. And of course, down below him is Dan the Kelly Art. And down below me is the Ric Flair of comics,
Woo!
Uncle Gary himself. How you
Hello,
guys doing
hello.
tonight? How you guys doing?
Good. Doing good.
Doing good. Looking
Ready
forward to what I'm sure will be a
show.
raunchier than normal episode, which says a lot.
Considering the
Ladies and
topic.
gentlemen, I have
Yeah.
it in the scroller. Parental warning may contain foul language tonight. There's going to be a lot of foul language happening tonight, I believe.
Okay, so if I do, there's some stuff I was going to read that has quite a few F-bombs. Edit it or just go for it.
Go for it. It's
Okay.
fine.
All
It's all part of the show.
All right.
What do we just got to get past the first 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
well, there's enough material there to.
Oh yeah.
It's funny. I read the first trade or the first omnibus that they had because there's six of the ones, and kind of flew through a lot of the other ones, and it's like, man, I forgot.
It's crazy.
I forgot.
Dan, this was your pick, correct?
Yeah.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I want to, we don't do indie characters that often. And, the reason that, there's a couple reasons. One reason is, when it comes to like picking a writer and artist on some of these indie characters, like there's not a lot that have worked on them. The ones that have enough material that you can do a show on are going to be limited in the writers and artists because generally it's the same one. So there's that, and then there's, it's not like if you pick, if you're doing an episode on Spider-Man, you've got all these different Spider-Man books, all of these crossover books, all of these event books and stuff. And then with the indie characters, there's not really a whole lot of that. If you do like Hellboy, it's going to be a bunch of Hellboy miniseries. If you do something like Butcher, there's one main series and really like three miniseries to pick from. So, we end up not doing them that often, but it's nice when we can get one in. And I think out of the boys, at first I was considering Homelander, but then I was really thinking more Homelander because I think he's a lot better. He's good in the book, but I think that one is where he's a lot better in the actual show. Yeah. Like I think out of the book, the only characters you could really do an episode like this on out of the book are Butcher, Huey, and Starlight. I don't think there's enough there on the other ones to be able to do a whole show on.
Well, it's got to start with Butcher.
Yeah.
And then Huey, I think, Huey's got a.
I felt like Huey had a much bigger role in the book than he does in the show.
Yeah,
I think the book really is kind of Huey's story because it really starts, with him and what happens to him and the way it ends, with him. And even the final Boys series was,
it's about
around him too, with Butcher being like, if Huey's like 1A, Butcher's 1B. And I think Starlight had a lot of character development and change from the beginning to the end, whereas all the other characters, the way the book, the way their story ends at whatever point is about where they are at the start of it.
Well, right. Butcher's the protagonist.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. He's the thing that makes the whole engine go. But it is Huey's story and how he reacts to that world.
It's kind of like
Huey is us. Huey is us.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I kind of think in The Office where Butcher is Michael Scott, like that's the main guy in that, and Huey is Jim and Pam, where it's like, all right, it's really it's really on the down low, like maybe secretly kind of their story, but then the other guy's the one that like really gets the spotlight shined on him a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that makes Starlight. Dwight?
What makes Starlight Pam? No, she's Pam.
No, it's Pam. Yeah. It's Pam. Yeah. Maybe Michael is Homelander.
Well, I think Homelander would be Todd Packer.
So that would make what's his name?
Creed.
Love Sausage, right?
Love Sausage, yeah.
Yes. Love Sausage, one of the greatest characters ever.
I don't the woman with the gigantic breasts.
Mother's Milk's mother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, tell anyone.
No,
You know, he said, "I had mother's milk's mother's milk."
So what do you think of it? Like, you know, we've all, you know, me and Gary and Mike, we've read it, but Sal hadn't read it before. He'd only
Right.
watched the show. So
Right. And it's exactly how you guys described it. Like the show is like here, but that book is like here.
you know, and people who
Yeah, this is just like a 3 stories that I could go through that I wanted to read and check out and talk about. That was just like crazy right there.
When,
And I-
people, you know, when I tell people like, oh, you like the show, you should read the book. The book is so much crazier, so much more outrageous.
Yeah.
And knowing how the show is like that, they're like, what? I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, the book is so much more wild than the show. I was like, if they could never do a straight adaptation of this
No.
book
No.
unless
could
it was
not.
like rated X.
when
Yeah.
Mike
Because of
first announced us that they were going to do this, it was on our Nerds show with Rob. I said, "No, they're not. They can't do that show." He said, "They are." I said, "No, they're not." And then a few years later, and they're going to do the Hero-gasm. No, they're not. Damn if they
And I
did.
thought that was pretty
What's up,
extreme.
Yeah.
They,
Yeah.
you know, on Amazon for Amazon Prime. What's up?
I'll be
Richard?
honest, when I was looking forward to it because I remember the
Yeah,
miniseries.
Richard, how you doing, buddy?
When oh, hey, that's all right. That's what it's there for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
But you know, when they did that episode of the series, I think I said at the time, I was super disappointed in it. I was like, and you think that the Hero-gasm episode is toned down from what they did in the original book, and you're like, how is that toned down? Like, read the book, man. It's
Yeah.
you know, Soldier Boy is a completely different character in the show than he is in the book.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's from
Yes.
the mind of Garth Ennis.
Do some push-ups, but in Gary's case, do some earth downs.
Earth downs, baby. Push-ups, earth downs.
Hey,
All right,
that's
let's-
all right, Adam. We're still in the pre-show.
Hey, Adam.
We're still in the pre-show. Do you want to, guys, want to get the business out of the way here
Sure.
right now?
Sure.
Let's go ahead and do that. I'll start off. You know, I'm your host tonight, Sal the Slab Guy. Always find me on YouTube under Sal's Comic Corner or Instagram as the Slab Guy 77. I'll go ahead and talk about Dan next. Dan, you're on Instagram. Over there.
I
Tell
am.
everybody about that.
I am.
You are Instagram.
I am on Instagram, so go check it out. Dan Kelly Art. I can't seem to crack 900 followers, man. I just keep hovering. It keeps going between like 896 and 900, and I'll like lose a couple, and then I'll get a couple, and I'll lose a couple, and I'll get a couple, and it just keeps oscillating between 800, between like 896 and 900. So yeah, I
All right,
really.
just tell us- get out there. And
What's up,
subscribe to
Liz?
those channels.
Yeah, go tell your friends to follow me. I'd love to be able to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. You know, we're almost halfway through the year, so that would be nice. But yeah, post a few times a week. I got it. Oh, what's up, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
But yeah, I got a couple of sketch covers I gave to some of the Comic Logic guys that I had the scans for and stuff, but I didn't want to post it to spoil it, so I'll be able to post those soon. I just finished inking the Two-Face drawing today, so I'm probably gonna hit
Yeah,
up
that was
the,
pretty wicked. I can't wait to see that.
Thank you. I tweaked a little bit of it, but I'm gonna stop at the FedEx Kinkos and scan it tomorrow, so I can post that tomorrow. I got some other stuff I've been working on to post. I'm getting ready to make this unboxing video for these. What is it? 5, 6, 8 CGC sketch covers I did that I finally got back, and I'll be posting that too. So
Nice.
a lot
Hey,
coming.
are you going to record it here? Do you want me on with you to do it or what?
Oh, if you want to, yeah, I was just going to record it on here after we're done the show tonight,
All right, we'll talk later about it.
so
We'll
that I
talk
can,
later.
get, one of the covers is the Transformers cover I did for Sal,
Yep.
which unfortunately came back as the lowest grade of all of them.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you, Chris. I'm glad you. One of the covers I did was a Alan Scott Green Lantern JSA sketch cover for Chris.
Yeah,
So I'm glad he liked it, and I did a Flash one for Rob. So I'm glad they both liked them.
Awesome.
Yeah, they were great. They were fantastic. You did great.
Hey, I love mine.
Awesome.
You know,
Yes.
my
All right.
Sergeant Slaughter, my Sergeant Rock.
Get over to the Instagram. Go ahead and follow Dan Kelly Art. Do it now, as he would say.
Well, your Sergeant Rocks are graded too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over
And
this
your
guy
Sergeant
right here.
Slaughter.
this guy right over here. This is the mighty Mike Harbor. Why don't you tell everybody about you?
Hey guys, you can find me at Comic Logic.
The keeper of Uncle Gary.
The keeper of Uncle Gary is my job.
That's a full-time job right
It
there.
is a full-time job. You know, I have no talent like the man Art Dan Kelly there. So, but you can
Chris,
you can seek me out at Mike Harbor on Facebook and Mike Harbor CPA at the Instagram.
Wow.
Nice.
He's professionals with
He's
you.
a professional.
Mighty Mike
Ladies and
Harbor is
gentlemen,
a professional.
Our class level just went up. Just
Oh yeah,
because of that, you know?
he ain't no amateur festival.
Yeah.
He's a professional.
He's a professional.
Professional.
That leaves this guy right down here, the Ric Flair of comics.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, he's the master of the squared circle, Uncle Gary.
Thank you. You can find me and that feller up there, Mighty Mike Harbor, Comic Logic. We're there every Wednesday. You can also see our principal owner, Rob Kalin from Comic Logic. We're getting our 4-color ink. We're getting our new books. We get it pumped in the bloodstream, baby. Get you jacked and get you packed by reading these comic books. I told you a million times. You start out lifting a single book, then it's a stack, then it's a short box, then it's a long box. Then you got it stacked up to the damn ceiling, and then you're moving them over here. Next thing you know, you are jacked and you are packed, baby. Reading comic books make you strong. Also do some push-ups or
That's right.
earth downs, if you will. So there you go. So please,
well, they're not earth downs for all of us, just
for me.
Yeah,
just
for
for the
you.
ones that are extra mighty.
All right.
Yep.
Well, you know what? You work hard enough at it, you might get a little tremor of the geophysical force. So work at it. Work at it, baby. Also want to give some love to Comic Character of the Day, the site that Dan's now running, and he gives us a great character of the day. And he gives, and Dan, I just want to say on Memorial Day, you know what cover I'm posting? The Sergeant Rock I always post. Yeah, and I try to post the cover every day. I've been so swamped I don't do it all the time, but thankfully you've got me and Talking Geek doing covers there for you on the for the covers of the day. And some days you even get both of us and you get double your pleasure for the price of one. So
Yeah,
there
I
you
should
go.
probably post a patriotic character for Memorial Day.
Yeah,
I didn't even like because I picked these characters and I like tried
right in advance.
at
Yeah,
a time and like posted because last time Kevin had me run it and it wasn't for as long as it is now, but
Yep.
I was doing it day by day and I would forget sometimes like, oh, it'd get the end of the day, I'm like, oh shit, I'd be posted it late or just forgetting it. So now I'm like, I'll post 7, 8 of them at a time. And then I tend to forget like, oh yeah, there's this occasion, holiday or something. I should,
I meant to tell you earlier, not on air, but I figured if I don't tell you now, I will.
Yeah.
So anyway, check out that site. Dan's doing a hell of a job. So please partake in that. Much thanks to Archduke Kevy for finding that site. It's the reason that most of us here are acquainted together is because of that site. So thanks go to there. All right. So that's me. Let's kick it back up to our moderator, our man in the slabatorium that is tinted red right now because it's danger.
He just scored a goal.
You know what, Chris? If you want me to send it in to get graded for you, I will, and you won't have to worry about the drool affecting it.
There you go.
I don't know. Chris has got that drool like that alien shit. It eats
That's that army drool.
It's acid. It's acid.
It's
All right,
acid.
ladies and gentlemen.
My wonderful daughter Danielle's in the chat. Hey, honey. Yep.
Yeah, he's got 1 or 2 cool books.
He does. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, head on over to thecodexstation.com and check us out there. You can meet the team, get some merch, so much more there. And there's also a way to find all that stuff that we do that, what's that, Gary?
Oh, wait a minute. What's
sorry.
Makes me break out in what?
Go ahead.
Makes
I'm
me
allergic
break out.
to working out. It makes me break out in a sweat and breathe hard.
That's just because you're looking in the mirror. Don't do that. All right. So
And we got to see Pam.
Oh, damn.
yeah.
Too. That was nice
Yeah.
You got to see Pam where?
at LotCon.
No, you
saw
saw
Liz.
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 Liz, I'm sorry, Liz.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
was
say,
gonna
what, Pam came up and I
Pam
didn't
made a
get to
road
see her.
trip.
I'm sorry.
Pam came all the way up
Jeez.
and I didn't get to see her. I was gonna
It's
be
been-
I was so bummed.
It's been a week.
Sal was alluding to the fact that here at Codex Station, normally you look at us and say they might have all the socials, but now that Mike Harbor's with us, you know we have all the socials.
All of
Look
them.
at him. Just look at him. He's positively,
Pass Dylan.
absolutely dripping with the socials, and we'd love to give them to you, baby.
Look at this. Look at that.
Look at
Dripping
that.
with the
Oh,
social.
look at that. Look at it. Just coming off his pores.
Yep.
And we'd love to give them to you, baby.
That's right. That's right. All right. Hey, Pam, I want to ask you a quick question. Have you watched the boys' Amazon Prime show, or are you coming into this completely cold?
I will say this:
Yeah.
Butcher is perfectly cast on there.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
poor
Oh my
Lord.
God.
Homelander,
100% yes.
Anthony Starr is like, that's
Yeah.
when you see actors and like you say, I can't imagine anyone else playing that role. Anthony Starr was like born to play, and you see him in interviews, and obviously anybody would have to be the opposite of Homelander, or they'd be a criminal psychopath, but he plays that part so well.
Oh my God. He gives you chills.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. I mean, man.
Like the show overall is cast really well. Like I said before, I like the show, but I don't like that they've made so many drastic changes from the comic to the show that,
Right.
because there's so many cool things that happen in the book that would be stuff that you would be able to put on a show that they just can't because of changes they made. But I'll say overall, the casting is really good.
That's the exact same way I felt about Preacher. The casting was phenomenal, but the show, the writing of the show left stuff to be desired, and I hated the changes. But
Banshee was awesome. That's
Yeah.
a great show.
Yeah, I've heard it is. I gotta watch that.
yeah, Star's Homelander is amazing, but Urban is perfect
Yeah.
as Butcher. Oh my God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and start the show, but we have to give the parental warning. There will be foul language. There will be lots of that tonight.
Will be,
Lots.
not maybe will be.
Will be. So this is like the Lobo Part 2 episode, So
Except more intense.
there'll be
Friggin-
there'll be no filters on tonight. So
Yeah, because at least Lobo is restrained by the corporate overlord that is DC Comics. The
Right.
Boys is not, because the
The
corporate
boys
overlords-
started at DC Comics, and they had to let them go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the corporate overlords at DC were like, after the first
Sick.
storyline, we're like, bro, we can't handle this. You gotta, we're gonna let you have the rights back so you could go do your thing with it. We like it, but we can't publish it.
We can't let anybody know we like it. We don't have anything to do with this.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and kick this off. I got a nice intro prepped and ready to go. Stick around. We'll be back in just about a minute.
Get your popcorn. Very good. Makes
Thank you.
Negan look like a wuss, doesn't he?
Nice.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
does. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you just tuned into the one show that isn't afraid to lift the curtain on your so-called heroes of the world. Welcome to the Codex Station. We're telling it like it is. No filters, no lies, just the cold, hard truth. Tonight, it's Billy Butcher, the leader of the boys, sworn enemy of the Capes, a man on a mission to bring truth to the light. This week, we're digging into the dirty secrets behind the superheroes, all the corruption, all the cover-ups, and everything Voight doesn't want you to hear. It's raw, it's real, it's diabolical. It's the Codex Station, ladies and gentlemen. So strap in. It's going to be a wild ride. And remember, not all heroes wear capes, but not all capes are heroes. All right, Dan, kick us off and let us know about this character.
All right. Well, he first appeared in The Boys issue 1, October 2006. Not that long ago.
Not that long ago at all.
I think one of the more recent characters creation-wise that we've done on here. Created by Garth Ennis and writer Garth Ennis and artist Derek Robertson. So Billy Butcher grew up in London's East End. As a child, he watched his father routinely abuse his mother. At one point, he tried to kill him, but his older brother talked him out of it. He joined the Royal Marines, and he ended up leading a life of excess drinking and self-destruction and violence. He then met his wife, Becky, who calmed him down and made him more, as close to normal as someone like Butcher can get. One day, he woke up with his wife disemboweled next to him, and it turned out she was pregnant because she had been raped by a superhero, and the baby prematurely burst out of her stomach, killing her, and attacked Butcher. And then he had to beat the super baby to death with a lampshade. He found out from his wife's diary that it was Homelander that had raped her, and he is the world's preeminent superhero. He's the Superman. He's the Thor. He's the big guy. So that made Butcher develop his absolute burning, intense hatred of the Capes, the superheroes. They call them Supes in this universe, and he decided that they all needed to die. He was recruited by a man named John Mallory and started a covert CIA team that would eventually become the Boys. As far as powers and skills, Butcher, like all the members of the Boys, is this thing in their universe called Compound V, which is what gives all of the characters their powers. Him and all of the Boys have their own kind of unique strain of it that gives them superhuman strength and enhanced durability and toughness for being able to fight them. And then he's also an expert tactician and hand-to-hand fighter and skilled with all these weapons and everything from his time in the military.
And a street fighter, too.
Yes.
100%. All right. So let's go ahead and jump to our next segment, which is what works best. Mike, why don't you go ahead and kick us off and what works best for you?
To me, the psychology of Billy Butcher works best. Yeah. The way he manipulates people.
Oh, yeah.
He is just the master, and it's from page 1. He is just a master manipulator there. I think they do a good job of it in the show, but the book just really displays he's not just strong, and brutal strength and all of that. He is, like Dan said, the master technician, the master manipulator. He is able to get people.
He's cunning. He's so cunning.
Yeah,
he's not thinking days in advance. He's thinking months and years, and setting up stuff that he knows is not going to pay off for years to come, but knowing that eventually it will.
Yeah, it plays the long game. So for me, that's what really, really works.
Okay. I'll go next for this one, and I have to agree with that 100%. He's a master manipulator. He reminds me of like a Constantine. You know how Constantine is always a step ahead. He's willing to do something, make sure he gets his way. That is Billy Butcher for me, and and I like the violence. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like the violent facts with him. You know, he's all in 100% on everything that he does, and that's crazy for what this book brings. Yeah,
See, I have to disagree, Chris. Huey
Okay.
is the cunning
Cunning.
linguist.
Yep, Huey's a cunning linguist.
That's
so
the
yeah,
one there.
That one issue early on when Butcher, when he answered the door and Butcher was there, it's just like, oh man, oh my god.
We all know what we're talking. Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
We
do.
probably
Good
can't even
stuff.
say what that's about, but yep.
It's
Yep.
early in the series, everyone.
Mhm.
Yep, very early. Yep. All right, so that's what I like best about him. Uncle Gary, what about you?
Oh, y'all are right on point. He is the man with the plan. He's a master manipulator. If you think you're trying to out scheme him, he is playing chess and you're playing checkers, my friend. He is way ahead of you. And the dirt this man has on everybody. Man, you better have lived the squeakiest clean life ever, or he will find out the one dirty thing you did, and he will know it, and he will use it, and he will leverage it against you. That dude, he has no shame, and he is just vile in how he will uncover information, and he will use it to embarrass you to the fullest. He will use it to get you killed. He will do whatever it takes to friend and foe, and much like Constantine. For him, the ends will justify the means.
Right.
He does not care who
That's
gets burned in the process.
Right.
Even people he cares about aren't 100% safe with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%
That's
on
a
that.
great point, Gary.
Yeah, and he he, like Mike said, he's an interesting psychosis to him and the things that have happened to him. So he is just, man, he is a whole lot of stuff shoved in one box, and it is pretty amazing.
Yep. All right, Dan, how about you?
Yeah, I agree. With you guys 100%. The way he manipulates people, like we were talking in the pre-show that the two main characters of the boys are really, it's the story of Butcher and it's the story of Huey, but it's two completely different. They're both in the same world. They're both doing the same stuff, but it's two completely different perspectives and things that are going on. And, the manipulation you see that he does with Huey, and especially when it gets to the end of the series and you see some of the stuff like with something Huey finds underneath his apartment door every morning when he wakes up. And it is something that goes on through the whole series, and when he finally finds out at the end why, and it turns out it has to do with Butcher. And there's a scene at the end when this guy Monkey, they call him, which is someone that that Butcher just treats like shit, and as a government contact that he threatens and gets him to give him information. There's one point at the end of the book where Huey gets on the phone and he's trying to get him to give him info, and he kind of threatens him and then hangs up, and Huey goes, "Oh my God, did I just do a Butcher?" And he's starting to realize the effect that Butcher has had on him, throughout this entire story.
Yeah.
And the word diabolical, he uses that much more in the show than in the book, but
it fits.
It is. He's diabolical. He's rough, and he is just an absolutely vicious bastard. And he's got his mission, and nothing can stop him from accomplishing it. And I mean, if you think that there's,
go ahead. Yeah.
If you think there's any depths he will not sink to accomplish his mission, you're wrong. He will do, and even like you said, even the people that are closest to him, you better watch out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, he's 100% into that. Every situation like that, there is no holding back. All right. So let's go ahead and jump to badass moments. Uncle Gary, do you want to go first with this?
All right, I can go first. So
do it.
I'm gonna start out with one of the most rotten things that an individual can do. He did to a character that he was at odds with, called Little Nina. So little Nina.
That's one of mine.
Why
What he did to little Nina was he put a bomb. He put a bomb in something very personal. There's a personal pleasure device that vibrates. And when she turned it on, boom. That's just wrong. It's rotten. I don't really want to call it badass, but man, that ain't right. That ain't right. So what he did to little Nina, that ain't right.
And then what did he do to Oliver Soups a page later?
I'll let you take that part of it. So I won't take the whole thing. So the bomb and the vibrator, God, that was just vicious. And
who even thinks of that too?
Yeah, Garth Ennis. Listen, we did Preacher on here too, right?
Yeah.
Some of the stuff in Preacher, I think Sal had never read Preacher before. And Sal was
true.
like, "Oh my god." And who even thinks of that shit? Mike infected me a couple weeks ago and made me read Kids that Ennis had done, and I was like, and then it was a new one, and it was like, who thinks of this shit?
You haven't read Kids. It's awesome.
I cussed Mike out for putting that in my head now. It was a great book, but oh my God, Mike and I are going to have a conversation when we see Ennis in Baltimore, and we're going to say, what in the hell? How did you come up with Kids? Oh my God. So anyway, we digress. So in The Boys 71, and I don't know how in depth I want to go on this because, I don't want to give a whole lot away, but I guess I have to. Butcher is in a position. Butcher is in a position, and the great thing about The Boys is it tells a story. It pretty much there's a couple miniseries, but like Preacher, it tells its set story, and then it gets off the stage. It's not something that's going to keep running. But in The Boys, there is an end to the Butcher, and the end of the Butcher is he manipulates Huey into bringing about his end. And I guess I don't want to say how, but Huey does. And when Butcher dies, finally, he dies with a smile on his face. He wants that to happen. He wants to die by Huey's hand. And when it happens, he's smiling, he's grinning. That's pretty freaking badass. All right. Now for the last one, I've debated whether I was going to do this or not tonight. But we just talked about who comes up with this stuff, who writes this stuff. Well, some of this is either lived or it's somebody close to him has lived some stuff, or you don't write this. My father was one of the most evil pieces of shit that ever walked this planet. And I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't abuse women because I was going to be everything my father wasn't. My father would come home when I was a young boy and he would rape and beat my mother. And I was too young. I was 5 when she got me and her out of his life, and I couldn't do anything about it. And later in life, it hurt him that I didn't drink or I didn't smoke because he thought that made me less of a man, and that reflected on him. So this was my way to twist the knife in him, my way to flip him off. And I wanted a piece of that man, and I didn't get it. And he writes something in Butcher Baker, Candlestick Maker, number 3, that was a tremendous gut punch to me. So I'm going to try to get through all this. Butcher's dad has abused his mother for many, many years. And Butcher, like Dan alluded to, he almost killed him at one point, but his brother Lenny stopped him. So later in life, his father, I'm going to show a picture, he's debilitated by a stroke. He's a shell of what he used to be, but his father was a cruel, cruel man. He didn't just beat up women. So he wasn't a pushover. He's a hard man, a cruel man. So Butcher meets Becky, his love of his life, and she has convinced Butcher's mother to leave this piece of shit. And this happens. So she's leaving this man at the apartment, and Butcher's with his brother. He's with Becky, and he's with his mother, and they're leaving. And the mother says to him, well, that's it. I'll be at me dad's if you need to get in touch. And Butcher says, but don't bother, telling his dad. And this is where all the bad language has come in. And the dad says, don't worry, I won't. She can just fuck off as far as I'm concerned. And he goes, yeah, go on, fuck off, everybody, you bloody bitch. What does the death do us part mean to you then, huh? Fuck all. That's what it means. That's what your word's worth. You don't know a wife's duty to her husband. You don't know a woman's place. And Butcher starts in right you and Becky stops him. He goes, and you can fuck off, all of you. And then he points to Becky. He says, you slag, don't think I don't know you're the one behind all this. And now he's talking about Butcher and his brother. If these two queers had ever put the whore up to leaving me, they couldn't have done it. But you took one look and saw your chance, didn't you? Well, fucking shame on you, destroying what's between a man and his wife. You slut, you home wrecker, you fucking evil cunt. And there's that bastard's face right there. And so, of course, I'm having flashbacks at this point. You are so fucking dead. And Butcher grabs him. And he says, he says, let him. And they try to stop him. And the father says, oh, let him. You would, wouldn't you? You'd thump your old man, the bloke what gave you life. You'd hit him when he can't fight back, you coward. Because he's had these strokes. And he goes, hit you. I'm going to take your fucking head off. And then his dad says this shit. Oh, it's what he fucking wants. He always has. But it ain't what he really wants, is it? No, what he really wants is to go at me in me prime. He's never going to get it, but he'd give his right arm for a chance to take me on when I wasn't stuck in this fucking crippled body. That's what he was dreaming of. All them years lying on his useless arse while I'd done whatever I wanted to her, and he lay there and he'd done absolutely fucking nothing. Go ahead, Billy boy, because we both know I'd have wiped the floor with you, you cunt. And Becky says, Billy, don't. He ain't worth it. Look at him. He ain't worth it. And Butcher does something I did. Hardest fucking thing I've ever done in my life. I walked away. And I'll talk about it in a second. So, of course, Butcher says, in his voiceover, I'd hoped you'd start crying or beg my mom to stay or whatever. Even bowing your head when I turned the light off would have been good. But I'll give this for you, Dad. You hated us the whole way out the door. So Becky stops him from beating his ass. On the day that my beloved grandmother, who was the mother of my piece of shit father, buried her husband, my beloved grandfather who started me collecting, who was not my dad's biological father, by the way. He was there. My dad was there. And I had stood up for my mother, and this would be the first time my mother had seen him since she took me and him out of his life when she was 5. My mother was so messed up, she wouldn't sleep in a bed for years. So anyway, I said, you see my mother there? She's going to pay her respects to my grandfather, but she's a ghost to you. You look through her. You don't look at her. You don't touch her. You don't acknowledge her. You don't speak to her. She's a ghost to you. You look through her. And he's like, yeah, right, whatever. Well, he did that. He did not violate that. So the day of the funeral, he was really good to my grandmother, his mother. And I was standing in my grandmother's kitchen while my grandmother's up at the church. And he says, and I say to him, Dad, you're really good with Granny today. I really appreciate that. He gets in my face. He says, well, she's my mother, Gary. My mother. Do you fucking get it? I had my fist all the way down here. And I balled it up. And I was ready to go. And my lovely redhead grabbed my hand. And it gave me 1.5 seconds to think. What is my grandmother going to think when I knock her son out on her kitchen floor while she's at the church burying her husband, just after burying her husband? And I walked the fuck away. Hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it was hard. Who writes this shit if they have not lived this, or if they not know somebody that lived this? And yes, I would have loved a shot at him in his prime, and it hurts me that I didn't get it. And even then, he was 60 years old. He's a former Golden Gloves boxer. He wasn't no punk. I'd had my hands full, but I'd have whooped his ass. But I didn't get it. I didn't get my fucking satisfaction. and it haunts me to this day. But you know what? I did the right thing, but God damn it, it hurts. And when I read that in that Butcher book, I don't know that I've ever been gut punched so much by a comic. So the reality in that, this is a funny book, but the reality in that is an everyday reality that many abusive pieces of shit like him are. Now, my father, after my mother, he did go on, and the next woman he was with, he killed her. So anyway, my father, piece of crap, the world's better, but he's no longer intaking oxygen, but I never got my shot. I never got my piece of flesh that I wanted for me and for my mom. And reading this is a gut punch. Now, if I brought everybody down, I apologize, but I just wanted to say how real this book is and how real the writing is. And the most badass thing Butcher ever did was he walked away from that. And he didn't beat that man to a pulp. So he's just sweet Finney.
Man. All right. Well, let me just say, Gary, I'm sorry you went through all that, but you don't need that. You don't need that. You know, you did the right thing by walking away. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. Period. All right. Was that your final badass moment for Butcher?
That's as
All
bad
right.
as it gets.
All right, Dan. How about you? We'll go next after that.
Do you want me to follow that?
Following that. I'm not following that. You're going to follow that.
All right. Well,
It can be a comedy show now. I'm sorry.
that's all
I
right.
warned y'all. We talked about this beforehand. Y'all said go.
And it's all right. Yeah, go. It was fine.
The first one I had was the bomb and the vibrator. Hopefully that was not written out of experience.
Hopefully that was not.
But I had like 6 badass moments, so I got plenty to choose from. I'll go with The Boys issue 30. So in the comic, there's a character, Director Rayner, who is kind of like the butchers, is kind of like the boys' handlers, and also, even though she's married and has kids, also is this affair going on with Butcher, even though every time they have sex, she professes to absolutely hate him and he treats her like trash. Well, in issue 30, he's basically, they're at this diner and, they're, having their conference or whatever. And, he's talking down to her. She's like, oh, I hate you. And he's like, meet me in the bathroom. And in the bathroom, he's got her bent over, having sex with her, and she's always like, oh, I hate you. And while he's doing this, in the middle of having her bent over in the bathroom of this diner, having sex with her to get her to do what he wants, for something for the boys, and she's like, I'm not going to do it. He tells her that if she doesn't, he's going to kill her whole family while he's having sex with her. Like, when I said that there is no depths that he won't sink to get what he wants, that's a prime example of it.
That's some bedroom words right there.
Yeah.
We'll kill your family, you bitch. Terrible. Those aren't sweet nothings.
No, they're not.
Mhm.
That's Chris for you. There you go, Chris.
Yeah. Another one I got is in The Boys issue 59. One of the characters was only, I think, on one episode of the show, but is very important in the book, is Butcher's dog.
Care.
And like I said, I think he was only 1 or 2 episodes of the show, but is his constant companion in the book. Like, goes everywhere, even when they're meeting with the Soups, is always with him. The one issue where they're having the meeting with the Soups and Terror like lifts a leg up and pisses on Homelander's leg. So in issue 59, after the boys have this kind of confrontation with the Seven, who's the big superhero group, they're sitting around in their place, and then Butcher's dog Terror shows up dead. Butcher just gets up. He's like, all right, you all have to excuse me. And Huey starts to say something, and Mother's Milk is like, don't say anything. And The female, she kind of curls up on the ground, snuggling with the dog, and they're all, because they all like the dog, they're all heartbroken. Butcher just goes to one of the characters from the Seven who is not in the show. This character, Jack from Jupiter, goes to his house, her apartment, whatever, and he opens the door, and as soon as he does, Butcher like grabs him in the chokehold, throws him up on the wall, and because he's Butcher, big butcher knife, stabs him with it, and he says, "Why'd you kill me, dog?" And then he just keeps stabbing him and stabbing, and just keeps saying, "Why'd you kill my dog? Why'd you kill my dog?" And it's just over and over, and it's just and Jack from Jupiter is just you. And the artwork is brutal in it too. Like you see him just getting disemboweled and just dying a little more each panel as it's happening. And because it was one of those things where we said Butcher will do whatever it takes to get what he wants, but his wife was his like North Star, his kind of guiding light, and when she died, that's what set him on this course thing. Even his friends and everything, the one that he cared about the most after his wife was his dog. And Jack from Jupiter killing his dog the way that he did, there was just no mercy. So I had that on there. And then right towards the end of the series, The Boys issue 65. And there's a bit of a spoiler. So if you haven't read it and you don't want to know about it, earmuffs. The whole series, and this is a big twist too. So, if you don't want to hear it, just cover your ears for about the next 45 seconds. The whole series, he thinks that it's Homelander that has done this to his wife. And when there's this big superhero revolution at the end, when Homelander tries to take out the White House and tries to take everything over, and Butcher finally confronts him and tells him what happened. And he's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Black Noir shows up, pulls his mask off, and he's this like twisted, even more twisted than Homelander, twisted like clone of him, who has come to find out secretly over the years been doing all of this stuff, putting on Homelander's suit and going and doing all of this twisted, screwed, just fucked up stuff. Even more messed up than the stuff Homelander already does, which is pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that did this to Becky. And then Homelander and Black Noir have this big fight. Homelander dies. Black Noir is almost dead. And when he comes out, Butcher just takes him and just beats the hell out of what's left of him and takes his crowbar and sticks it in and like pops out a chunk of his brain. And, I forget exactly what it was he told him, but I should have written it down. But makes it known that, he's getting what he wants, and like crushes his brain in his hand and he falls dead. And, it's the culmination of what started him on this path that he's on for the entire series.
Right. That's not the only time he's taking somebody out with a crowbar.
Yeah. But that was, he got his, kind of, you were saying, Gary, like, it was hard to
got his piece, yep.
He might have walked away from his father, but he didn't walk away from this one.
Right.
He did not.
All right. That's your three. So Mike, you're up next. Let's hear
your I got a couple other ones, if they're not mentioned.
So so mine kind of coincide with some other people's, but one of the first ones was comes right in on the 5th page, and Dan mentioned it, or a later episode between Butcher and the director of the CIA, and he's got her spread out on the on the desk, and she's yelling at him and cursing him and casting his name, and all he can say is, wait till you see where I wipe my dick. It's like, holy shit. It sets the whole tone right there before, and this is before, or right before Huey's disaster with his girlfriend and stuff like that. So it really kind of sets the thing there. The second episode I have, Dan, you had mentioned that also. The final showdown with him and Black Noir.
Yeah.
And he's got the U.S. Army out there, and they are just laying the lumber down. The steel is flying, and he comes out with that crowbar and just pops the top of his head right out. So I thought that was the badass moment. And then Gary, you alluded to the last one, how he manipulates Huey at the end to finish him off and stuff like that. So, it's just by threatening his family and telling him he's killed them and all that. It's just he's, and well, I don't know if I should spoil it or not. Spoilers are okay.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. He's had the fight with Huey, and he says he's paralyzed, but he's not. And that's how he gets Huey to kill him. But he's just such an evil bastard. He's more evil than, he's right up there with Black Noir as far as the evil and the things that he's done. But he's the evil good guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
right.
It just like you said, you could pick another half dozen different ones out there that he had. So it's just such amazing book.
But that one, in that moment too, you also see that he realizes, like, he knows he's, even though he's the good guy, he knows that he's not a good guy, and he knows that he has to go, and and that shows it. Now it's a messed up way that he does it, because getting Huey to do it, is going to have long lasting ramifications for him. But at least he, is cognizant of, I can't be here anymore.
Right. That he's crossed the line even in his own head.
Yeah.
Right. All right, then. So for my three, I've got a lot here, and I'm surprised no one talked about this one. Also, a spoiler alert. It's issue number 65. He murders Buttersmilk. He snaps his neck, and he's like, "I'm sorry, mate," and he just snaps it with no hesitation. He just betrayed him, and I think this really marks his descent into villainry. Is that right?
Villainry. Yes.
Yeah, villainry. So yeah, that's just cold. And from when I read, this, and from watching the show, they were tight. They were, very tight. And I was really shocked when he did that. So,
well, there's other stuff that he had done involving Mother's Milk before with his ex-wife and his, and the mother of his daughter that was. Whew.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So the other one I have comes after issue number 6, and this is the smile after Huey makes his first kill. Huey kills it was Blarneycock. I forget that name. Blowing a hole in his chest, and Busher confronts him,
but he gets stuck there. He gets stuck with his arm.
Yeah.
But then he grins behind his back. And that smile alone, it's cold and calculating. It's the evil mentoring, type of smile, So that's what I loved about that.
Because right then he knew, he's like, all right, I've got this kid. He's in. There's no going back now.
Yeah, he wanted that to exactly happen. So that's my second one. My third one I got is with the crowbar. He kills a soup with a crowbar. It's issue number 5. During a raid on Teenage Kicks, he uses a crowbar to brutally take down a soup in close quarters, and there's no fear, there's no hesitation. It's just effective violence, And he has some good quotes in there, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like deadpan sarcasm when he splatters the brains, and it was just like perfect for that moment. So that's my last badass moment there. But I've got a ton more, because I once I got those 3, I had to keep looking up more, and I have like 5 more. But yeah, go ahead if you got more.
One thing I was going to say too is the way they're able to do that, because they have this enhanced strength and durability and stuff from the V.
Right.
That's one of the big things that I didn't like about the show, is that they didn't give that to them, and they did it later. They did it later on in the series where they like took it, but the powers were different for all of them, and they didn't last. But to me, that was an integral part of the book, because I think they even say like in the book, like there's no way that we could do what we do if we didn't
have powers.
We didn't have this these powers ourselves. Like they pop our head like grapes. It would be over like that. And that's a problem I had with the show, was there was just it's hard to use the word believability when it comes to a show like that. But there is no believability that these people, that these guys and the boys would be able to do what they do without having these enhancements. So that was something I was disappointed in the show. And I was also disappointed in the show with what they did with Black Noir, because knowing that twist and that revelation at the end, I was like, oh, that's going to be really awesome when they do it in the show. And then it's, oh, no, it's something completely different. And it's a guy that dies because he's allergic to peanuts. Like, what kind of bullshit is this?
Yeah.
But one of the other ones I had was in issue 33, when the team Payback, he takes them on all by himself so that the team is kind of injured so that they can get away, and then he ends up I don't even remember which character it was, but he decapitates him with a shovel.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And then in the issue before that, one of the members of this team Payback, Soldier Boy, who like I said earlier, Soldier Boy is completely different character in the comic than he is in the show. When they're fighting, they're all fighting together, and Butcher's fighting Soldier Boy. He bites his nose off. It's just, who does that in a fight? Like, that's some Mike Tyson shit there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Mike Tyson shit right there. Yep.
And these teams, Payback and Teenage Kicks and the Seven, they're all allegories to Justice League and Avengers and
Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you talk about the allegory to the X-Men.
Yeah.
Man, that John Godolkin stuff, like that stuff is crazy.
Ennis is a twisted man. They're also in the end of the Dear Becky series where he's having these where he was talking about his life, like I talked about earlier. His father, he says at the end, he says, "I'm just really happy you had an open casket," and he pisses on his father, his body. I mean,
that's harsh.
Yeah, and he's pissing on him because I'm just glad you had an open casket. And just a side note, in the show, I think it was episode 1, when they beat the Invisible Man.
Oh God!
Oh yeah, with the car.
They beat him to death. But anyway, with in the radio shop, to London Calling.
Yeah.
As the musical background, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. I tell you, it's not a badass Billy Butcher moment, but I think it's just such a. You talked about the messed up moments, and the thing is when Tech Knight stops the asteroid.
Oh yeah,
crashing into the earth.
Yeah. Ennis, I tell you what, that is not the dude that you would feel comfortable sleeping in the same room with.
And like we said, the stuff with Godolkin and the G-Men and like all of the offshoots where it would be like the New Mutant kind of offshoot, and then the Pre-Wiz where instead of G-Wiz, and when he's on the phone with the guy from Vought and he hears the kids in the background and the guy from Vought goes, "Is that another Pre-Wiz? I thought we talked about you not doing anymore." And Godolkin goes, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't answer to you. It's like, man, and then when you know what it is he's doing to all of these characters, and that one scene where it's like the whole lawn that's full of them, it'd be like if you put together, we have the X-Men and X-Force and X-Factor and New Mutants, and they're all ganged up getting ready to fight this group, and you're like, like if Professor X had abused all of them the way that Godolkin did, like, man.
Right. This whole series is just wow.
Hell.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and jump to our next segment, which is critiques and stuff that we don't like. Mike, why don't you go first for this one?
Geez, trying to think what I don't like. That's a hard one.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how much. I don't know if I really have anything I
Don't
dislike
like-
about him.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, the cliche with the rape and stuff like that. You could go on about that or some of the other things, I guess, but it's just such mindless, over the top comic dumb. So I really can't think of anything that jumps off the pages at me right now.
Yeah, I'll go next. I don't really have anything I dislike about it. He's an asshole of a character,
Yeah.
sometimes, and I mean that's just the way it is, and that's how he was written, and and the show kind of follows that, not 100%, but you could see that, So I don't know. There's nothing really I dislike about him in itself.
Thanks, Chris.
That's a hard one. Yeah, Chris. Leave it to Chris and always bring it in like that. Yep, I don't really have anything I dislike. Gary, do you?
I don't like how much I like the depravity of this show.
Oh, birds of a feather here.
There we go.
I think we all feel that way. That we feel like we need to bathe after we read this.
Yep.
and we're really disappointed how much we like this book.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Dan, do you have anything you don't like?
I will say this: in the show, as much of a bastard as he is in the show, he's nowhere near as much as he is in the book. In the show, he has more heart and is more caring in that with the kid and even with Huey and some of the other characters than he is in the book. But as far as criticism of the character, I mean, he doesn't really have any loyalty to anybody except really his mission. He'll lie and manipulate without a second thought to get what he wants. But if the character's not written that way, the book is not the boys is not the boys. He has his character has to be that way for this book to be what it is. Because if he's not that way, then honestly, if he's not that way, the boys would not be successful in their mission. As much of a bastard as he is, he has to be that, because there's no way that they accomplish what they accomplish without him being like that. And none of the others are going to be able to stoop down to his level.
As Butcher himself would say, he's a right cunt.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it says a lot about us. You're damn right, Liz.
That's so true.
At least we're not reviewing Crossed, okay?
Yeah, I haven't even read
in this book.
Yeah, I hear that one is really terrible. I am not reading that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead then and jump to top covers. Let me see who I got first. Dan, I got you first. You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, you go.
I actually have all three of these covers.
I saw that on your rack.
Yeah, so we'll start with the first one on the left there, Boys issue 14. It's just a badass Derek Robertson cover, and I think that really kind of sums up who Billy is, where he's just standing there, this diabolical, evil smile on his face, covered in blood, and you just see blood and guts and superhero costume remains all about him, and like a tombstone there. And, I think that kind of sums up just who the character is. The middle one, issue 66, that's that kind of sums him up too, in the sense of what his mission is, that it's, there's no frill or anything with that. It's just a stark, plain white background, him standing there in the all black with the trench coat with no expression on his face, the crowbar rested on his shoulder, and, there's not a lot of glitz or glamour to the cover, but, it's like that stone cold, certainty that you see in him, and that's kind of, they say, kind of encapsulates his mission. And then the last one, the end, Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker #6. You see, I mean, it's beautiful the way that the sunset is colored on it, and the way everything else is almost completely in shadows. And him standing at the grave, and that it's the grave of his wife Becky, and I think that's just a very striking and powerful cover when you know what it is that has that moment has made him what it has turned him into.
Yep, she was his salvation, and when she went, that was it for him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Again, it's Black Noir doesn't do what he did. Butcher stays married to Becky, presumably leads a happy life, never becomes part of the boys. Like everything is set off because of that one act, which ultimately destroyed not just the person who committed the act, but the person that was left over because of it, and then all of these other lives along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great covers, though. Great covers. Hey, Mike, I've got yours up next. You ready?
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Terror.
I love that toilet one.
Yeah, so that's the cover for the final issue number 72.
It's all
the suits are flying into the shitter. So I think that's just a great cover. And then Terror, it's a Ross. I think that's a Robertson cover. There.
Is one of those characters flying in the shitter the Brown Lantern?
I think the Brown Lantern is in there somewhere.
Yep.
He's the one that's already in there. He's greeting them as they come in.
As they come in, nice.
Yes.
Do you have your ticket, sir? Please move forward.
Please move it back to the toilet, please.
Yep.
The second one, Love Terror. It's funny. Yep. I got a Russ Braun original sketch of Terror hanging on my wall that I picked up, and then the last one.
Look at the eyeball in the mask.
Yeah.
The last one, I think, obviously an homage to Animal House.
Yep.
So just a great alternative cover for I think it's issue 20. Can see what issue that is.
24.
24. So yeah. So just the series had some really, really good covers, and these are my three favorites.
Nice.
All right, Gary, I've got yours ready. Go.
All right, so we'll have some overlap here. The one on the left, that's the Derek Robinson from the boys. I guess that was probably 14. And again, like Dan said, he's just standing in the pile of gore and blood that he has happily caused. The one on the far right is a alternate cover for number 30, and that's by Jim Lee, and that's just a really cool version of a Butcher with a bat taking it to somebody, destroying a bathroom and destroying another soup in the process, and just a badass looking Butcher in his mission. And then the one in the middle is I believe that was 48, I think, and that it's takeoff of the Dark Knight, of course, but that's his mission, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
there he is. He's kicking the soup off the roof, and that's what he does. And I just thought that really encapsulated what the boys is really all about. These heroes that we worship, and we have these iconic collections of, and book. There he is. He's killing them. So that's his whole mission right there.
Yep, that's pretty awesome. All right, here we go with my covers. So I too went with that issue 30 because that was pretty freaking amazing. Jim Lee artist was amazing. I love it. Next one is the boys number 3, the F version. This is done by Tyler Kirkham.
Yep.
So you gotta love that. And then I also have the boys Dear Becky. This is the R version, and that's by Stan Yak.
That's a cool one.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We love the one in the middle too, the Kirk.
Yeah. It's just with the blood splatter everywhere.
Yeah.
That's and he's just there smiling like he's just
he's pleased with himself.
Happy as a clam.
Walk in the park.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, all right. Those are our covers. Good covers, guys. Before we jump into the next segment, we got to make sure we talk about the giveaway. The giveaway this month is Astonishing X-Men, Amazing X-Men, and the Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. Find out how to enter. Go to our Instagram account. It's pretty easy. If you show us screenshots that you're following, that's one entry. If you're already a member, you're already going to get one entry. If you tag people on that particular post, you get an entry for every tag. You do 10 tags, you get 10 extra entries. You do 100 tags, guess what? You got 100 extra entries right there. So head on over to Instagram, check out that post, and leave a comment there.
And if the people you tag follow us and they tag people too, then they get entered as well.
That's true. I think they get a bonus of 5 entries if they subscribe right there, after being tagged. So, yep, absolutely. Got to do it. All right, so next we go to our readings, and let's see, who do I got? I got you, Dan, up first for the readings. Here we go. You ready?
All right. Well, the first one I have is excuse me. The Name of the Game, Boys, issue 1 through 6. That's the name of the first collected volume. It's actually the first 2 storylines that are in that, which one of them is called The Name of the Game and the other one's called something else. But they go together. This shows Huey and what happens to him after his girlfriend is accidentally killed by A-Train's carelessness, and Butcher comes into his life and recruits him for the boys and then puts the boys back together. You see their first mission, and it kind of gives you the status quo, not just of what the book will be, but it starts showing you that kind of manipulation that Butcher will put Huey through and how it gets him on, how he's willing to do whatever it takes to get what he wants. The next one, The Bloody Doors Off, issues 66 through 71. Now, it ran 72 issues, so this is the last big storyline. This takes place right after there was this big superhero kind of thing where they tried to take over the country and failed. And it's essentially Butcher tying up what he sees as loose ends. And this is where you really see kind of the depths that the character will go to, because the people he starts killing off in this is, he's still killing the Supes, but he's taking out the people that are his closest allies and closest friends, that he's just taking them off the board in his mission that, hey, all Supes have to go regardless, even the ones that are the quote unquote good ones, they got to go. So he's getting rid of all of them, the other members of the boys, their other allies. And, and then eventually, as, we said earlier, that, where he manipulates Huey into killing him.
Yeah.
That was another essential one. And then the last one, the Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, is a 6-issue miniseries. And this was the one that really dove into Butcher's backstory and everything that took place before he was part of the boys. It shows his childhood, the stuff with his abusive father, with the stuff with his mom and his brother, and him joining the military, and him, meeting his wife and, courting her, getting married. You see what happened, what the life was that he was leading with her, and then what happened to her and how it changed him. And, of all the, the books that are essential reading for him, that one I think is probably the most essential to see what it was that shaped him into the character that he is.
I agree 100%.
Yep. Very good. All right, who we got next? Mike, I got you next. You ready?
All right, let's do it. I said it pretty simple. Read everything.
Yeah.
Read all the boys. Read Dear Becky. Read Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker. Can't really go into do it better than what Dan said, but to really get the depth of what this character is, you really need to read all the materials, especially the boys.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Gary, I got you next.
Yep, I'm the exact same way. Just read it all. I don't usually do, this is like what Arch do. You read the whole thing, but I don't know how you can really read and get what you need to this character if you do not read every issue of The Boys. I mean, it is just he's playing the long game, and to really get into this character, you just got to read them all. And and Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, like Dan said, that is his raison d'etre. Who he is all encapsulated in that miniseries. And when you read that, and then you read The Boys, you have more of an idea of, why he is that way. And then Dear Becky was what came out after The Boys finished its series, probably about 10 years after. And it was the only time they've revisited things, and there were flashback things in there and current things with Wee Huey. But that's worth reading too. So read them all.
Yeah, because there was there's the main series, and then there was those two, Herogasm and Highland Huey, and that
right
one is
Highland Lad. Yep,
Highland Lad. Yeah, and that one was all Huey. So
right.
Yeah, and Dear Becky was the last thing, and that was a while ago. So I would doubt that we'd see them dipping any more into this universe, unless it was something where they were like on some anniversary, they did like, hey, we just did like a new 8-page story of something or other.
And that's what Dear Becky was. It was kind of it was nice to have that. I liked it. I was happy.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So let's go ahead. I'll jump to the ones that I'm suggesting. All right. So proper preparation and planning. Dan talked about this. This issues 1 through 6. I believe that's the other part of the arc that you were talking about. I can't really add anything else to it, but it's definitely like the beginning story where everything gets kind of set up for you, and you learn the characters and their motives and stuff like that. So issues 1 through 6. The Bloody Doors Off. Once again, Dan did an amazing job with that. The only thing I like to talk about on this one is I found this one to be very, very dark, brutal, and psychologically revealing in this one. And Butcher's descent into extremism and the growing rift between him and Huey are the main focus in this part right here. So, yeah, definitely a story to read. Dan hit all the good points, so there's no real need to duplicate that. And of course, the last one, Herogasm, 1 through 6. I had to read this one because the one from the Amazon Prime show was just, I thought that was off the chart. Man, nothing like the book. That book is just like 100% worse. So,
what was it that Vic the Veet kept saying when he showed up? He was like, "I want my dicky sucked." And he just kept wandering around like, "I want my dicky sucked."
So, I guess Butcher's role in this one, he's trying to infiltrate to find more, monitor soup activity, gather more blackmail material, investigate more of Homelander's plan to take over the government type situation. But he's cold and calculating. What's that? Is that
stuff with Homelander and Soldier Boy?
Yeah, I don't even want to bring that up because that doesn't really involve Butcher too much, but the Butcher's tone in here is he's cold, he's calculating, but he's also disgusted. He hates this thing. He treats the entire orgy as it's just confirmation of how broken soups are. And it's just it's like fuel for his fire on furthering his long game. So yes, if you see the Amazon Prime one, that was nothing compared to this. So definitely check this one out. I mean, you got Soups abusing fans, you got him engaging in dark fetishes, the whole 9 yards in this one. So anyhow, definitely check it out. Herogasm 1 through 6. Man, I was like, I think I needed a shower after reading that one. I was just like, oh.
Now, when we were telling you, like, you think the show is wild, wait till you read the book. Did you really think that it was going to be like this, or was it you just were you kind of thinking like, I don't know, they're probably just building it up, like, or did you think that it would really be like this?
Well, yeah, okay. I know you guys. So when you say something like it was a lot worse than what it was on TV, I take your word for it. I'm like, okay, it's going to be a lot worse. But then I'm reading it, and I'm like, okay, well, here's the TV show. Here's where I thought you guys were doing it. Here's where I was at when I was reading it. So I believed you guys, 100%. But I was just like, oh man, they just took it to a new level on that one. So yeah, I believed you guys, but the level of that, I don't know. It was just.
Who was it?
Like I said, the way that Huey got his pet hamster.
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Oh dear God.
What was
You
the
can
name? It
read
was
the story on that one.
what would you say?
I said read the story on that one. Don't.
Oh,
I'm
I'm
not
not
gonna play
gonna
that
say
one.
the way he got it, and then when the guy wanted it back, and what was the name of the hamster? I can't remember now.
Oh, what was that name of the hamster?
So Sal, were you happy with what you read, or did you just feel filthy?
I didn't take a shower, but yeah, I was happy with what I read. I mean, I did enjoy it. So
Are you going to read the rest of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to now.
These are books you read.
You kind of gotta go all the way.
Yeah.
These are books you read, and you're shaking your head, going, "Oh my God!" Wow.
I'm like, I can't believe I'm reading this.
Lemmy Winks.
Winks.
Or what? Like I said, after Huey hooked up with Starlight the first time, and Butcher comes over to his place, and Huey opens the door, and Butcher just sees him and just starts laughing. He's like, "You come down later." I don't want to say what it is, but
don't say what it is.
Oh my God! And then, like I said, the stuff underneath Huey's door throughout the entire series, and when you find out at the end, like what it was going on. And then he asks the guy, "Why is there blood in it?" And he's like, "Isn't there supposed to be?"
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. Oh, I just looked up the name because I had to remember the hamster's name. It's Jamie.
Yeah. Now we know why Jamie didn't want to do tonight's episode.
Oh. Boom! Shots fired.
Wow!
I'm just repeating the truth. I'm not trying to say
Wow!
anything. Man. Woo. All right, let's go ahead and skip to our next segment, which is best writer and artist. I don't think we have much to choose from here. So, guys, I want you to say who do you like?
Well, I'll go with writer. Of course, it's Garth Ennis.
Yeah.
I may
wrote all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It may be a little surprising. This is one of those where we may have to say, if it, besides Ennis, who else could have done a job on this? But I can't imagine anybody's even in that category. Maybe, Brian Azzarello's written some twisted stuff, so maybe he could a little bit, but nobody can write it twisted like Ennis can.
No, I don't. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And as far as the art, love Derek Robertson, but I got to say, I think I liked Russ Braun's a little better.
I'm a Russ Braun guy.
Yeah. I think I would go with Russ Braun too.
Yeah. So Russ Braun, a lot of respect to Derek Robinson, but I think Russ Braun's my guy for this.
What about you, Dan? You haven't said anything yet.
I mean, yeah, you got to go with Ennis because he wrote everything. He wrote all the miniseries. He wrote the regular series. There hasn't been anything written for the boys in comic form that wasn't written by him.
Yeah.
And for artists, I would have to go with Robertson. Like, I actually, Russ Braun's a nice guy. I like his art overall. I felt like the art on the boys took a huge step down on him. I mean, his art was fine on it, but I didn't think it was near up to the level of Robertson. But if we were going to pick someone else to do it, another writer and artist, to come in and, do another story or something for it. For writer, I would take a guy that wrote another series that Russ Braun or that Derek Robertson drew, which was also kind of twisted. The series Happy, I would say Grant Morrison, because Happy was twisted in kind of along the same lines as The Boys is. So it makes me think that, maybe not like the overall length that Ennis was able to write this, but at least if it was going to be like a mini series or a one shot, that I think Grant Morrison could do something good. And for artist, I would pick Gary Frank.
Morrison has a twisted sense of humor with him too. which is what The Boys has. So I see that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think where somebody like Azzarello doesn't have the sense of humor.
Yeah. You know, and I want to say too, I forgot to mention earlier, you know, you mentioned, you know, the other, you know, in this series that we, you know, talked about in here, the Preacher. It was one issue. They had a character from Preacher that was a prominent character, you know, that was in the issue, in an issue of The Boys that was prominent in one issue and one issue only.
I have no idea.
Yeah, the St. Patrick's Day issue. It was at the bar. The bartender was Cassidy.
Didn't realize that.
But he doesn't call him Cassidy in this book. He calls him Point. I can't even pronounce it right. Like
Prinzias?
Prosias, yeah. Because I didn't even realize it until
that was Cassidy's name. That's his real name.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it until later on. I was reading something and it said, "Oh yeah, Ennis put him in this one issue with The Boys," and I was like, and it takes place after the events of Preacher. So does that mean that Preacher and The Boys occupy the same universe then?
I don't know.
Crossover we all wanted.
But I did like that scene in that issue too when the drunk people came in and he looks at me, he's like, "No Irish," and they're like, "But this is an Irish bar," and he throws like a bottle at me. He's like, "No fucking Irish." "But you're Irish. Get out."
Well, I had no idea Cassidy was in there. That's cool.
You're going to go back and reread that issue now, aren't you?
What issue number?
I have to look it up. It was the St. Patrick's Day issue, so I don't know if I have it sitting in front of me.
All right. Well, that's okay. I'll figure it out.
I mean, it's the one that, like, you know, real big on the cover. It's Butcher sitting there on the cover, kind of like kicked back, and it says Happy St. Patrick's Day on it.
Okay. I'll find it and look at it. I got all the trades. I won't have to open the original issues. And Mike, you were Ennis and Braun for you?
Yep. Ennis and Braun for me.
Yep.
And you too, Sal?
Yep. I was the same.
Very good.
Man, this has been a crazy episode.
We broke the cuss meter.
We did. We broke the cuss
Well,
meter.
we did
for
pretty
sure.
good, actually. Yeah. No.
Davey's going to be like, "We're demonetized. Thank you."
All right, it's issue 27.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Yeah,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can go ahead and wrap this one up. Does anybody have any final comments on Billy Butcher tonight? Anybody? Thank you guys in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us and sharing our debauchery tonight. It was been an adventure.
You know what? Maybe, you know, Chris is a writer. I think maybe Chris could.
Chris is demented enough to write this.
You know what? Schwartz could. I mean, I love this book, Tripping Over Reality, and the sequel to it. And what a great title, Tripping Over Reality.
Yep.
Pam, get you some wholesome more. Yep.
We did. We warned you. We did.
Pam, get you some wholesome. Sorry we did that to you. It was you know, we all are gonna have to bathe after this show, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Not a sponge bath. We need to get hosed down.
Yeah, I was gonna say the prison hose.
Prison hose.
Yeah, we'll be like
Rambo.
And John Travolta in Pulp Fiction is out in the yard.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, then. I will go ahead and wrap this up and put it to bed. Next week, folks, we are going to be covering Uncle Gary's pick.
Two for the price of one. Two for the price of one.
Do you want to leave it like that, or you want to say the names?
We'll say the names. We'll do We'll do Thunderbird / Warpath. So it can be James. We'll talk about John and James Proudstar.
Nice. Yeah.
So
love it.
We'll get because there's just not enough material for us to do just the John Proudstar show. So we need to have both brothers in this, and we'll do that. So
I totally agree. I think both
Proudstar, or we just say the Proudstar brothers. So.
Proudstar brothers. All right, folks, tune in next week for the Proudstar brothers. Tune in to a Saturday night for our weekly pools and back issue finds on Comics Unleashed. And Mike, thank you for joining us on this episode.
Yes,
really appreciate that. Please Come back anytime that you want to join in on any character we got going on.
Love you too, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, love you too,
It was
Chris.
great
Yeah.
seeing you. Great seeing you over the weekend.
Yep. All right then, folks. I guess we will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, and we'll see you guys next week.